Hi, I'm Stuart from the Norfolk Honey Company and welcome back to our Maisemore Apiaries series of sponsored videos for 2017. Today we've come back to the queen rearing apiary where we're all but finished with our queen rearing. We're now looking at moving some of the nucs into full-size hives and just combining some of the colonies. And we've been using the Maisemore poly hives in order to combine some of the nucs and also to swap out some of the hives that are in wooden hives, and we're looking forward to overwintering our colonies in the poly hives to see how they perform. If you've not yet subscribed, please do hit the subscribe button at the bottom of the screen there, and if you see a little bell symbol, then if you click on that you'll get a notification every time we upload a new video. We're also on Facebook, so check out Stuart's Beekeeping Basics on Facebook if you'd like to join in the conversation for new beekeepers, but also if you're a more advanced beekeeper, it would be great to have you along there to help give advice, tips and techniques to some of the new beekeepers, or perhaps those that are considering starting beekeeping for the first time. It's a very friendly environment where we don't tolerate any abuse or negativity, and it's really somewhere that everyone can go to ask those simple questions when you're just starting beekeeping. So today we're going to take a look at the colony that we created last week by combining the two nucleus colonies using the essential oil spray. So there were some comments left that were critical of this method, and I wanted just to go over the method again, talk a little bit about the spray that I use, and also show you the colony that we now have here, which hopefully has settled down from two nucs into one larger colony and are now preparing for the winter. So what we'll do is we'll take the camera into the apiary, and as we're going through the inspection I'll just talk through some of the issues that you could have, particularly for new beekeepers who might be trying to unite colonies for the first time. And then for those of you that want to give this method a try, I'll talk about how I mix up the solution and the different quantities that we use, and at some point I'll post a recipe for it as well. So let's get the smoker going and we'll head off into the apiary. This is our colony that we have united from last week, and everything seems perfectly peaceful now. You'll recall that last week we had quite a lot of bees flying around. They'd clustered on the hive behind me and it looked quite chaotic, but that was because we'd sprayed them with the lemongrass oil mixture and they really didn't have their hive pheromone to be able to detect and know exactly where they were going. So once that's evaporated, we're then in a position where the colony has united itself within the main body of the hive and their natural pheromones can then take over. And the whole point of using the essential oil spray is that it masks the different pheromones between the two nucs, and so you can combine the two. If you're just starting in beekeeping, then I would take a look at the uniting two colonies using newspaper method, because that's a very straightforward method and you don't get the chaos of bees flying everywhere, which for a beginner can look quite alarming. So if you're an experienced beekeeper and you're happy using this manipulation, then I would say that it works really well. So we're going to open this colony up and we'll do an inspection through them and just check that everything is well and that we've got eggs and brood and that the colony's settling down. And then we're going to look to see whether they need any additional food, and if they do, we've already got the feeder on this hive and we can just top it up with some sugar syrup, and then the bees can start to draw out any additional comb, but more importantly start to store the sugar syrup for the winter. So this is a Maisemore Apiaries poly commercial hive. You will have seen it in some of the other videos in this series. Do take a look at the playlist and have a look back at the various videos that we've put in the playlist, because there's lots of examples of us inspecting both this particular style of hive but also the poly nucs that Maisemore Apiaries were very kind to donate to us to record this series of videos as well. So let's get this strap undone. So this is just a strap to hold everything together. I wouldn't recommend just using that strap when you're transporting a hive like this, but it's a great strap to just hold the roof down and keep everything together. So we'll pop the roof down in front of the hive, give them a little bit of smoke at the entrance, and then we can take everything off together, the feeder and all the bits and pieces on top, and see how these girls are doing. Of course, at this time of the year, the bees are going to start evicting the drones because they don't have any drones with them through the winter. So you may start to see in your own colonies that drones are being dragged out by the workers. There are still some drones around, but the numbers will gradually diminish as the daytime temperatures start to cool, and particularly the nighttime temperatures as well. Here in Norfolk in the UK, it's been noticeable that in the mornings there's been a fairly heavy dew on the ground, and the temperatures have been a lot less than through the summer. So what we've got here are bees that are putting stores in the outside combs, and they could do with some additional stores. We don't have many bees on these outside combs. So what I'm looking for is how far the brood nest is extended, and remember that these are combs that we combined, one from each nuke, as we put them away. So there will be a mixture between the two, and you may have already noticed that there's one or two supersedure cells that we've had. So that's something to just make a note of. So in this frame we've got lots of eggs and young larvae, so that's always a good sign. And then we're through to the other side of the brood nest, and again they don't have a great deal of food stores, so what we'll do is we will top up the feeder, and then we're through to a fairly ragged frame at this end, and that frame will eventually remove from this colony, and the frame at the very end here is just foundation. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll close them up, just come back through. There are several supersedure cells in there, so what we'll do is we'll knock those down. I haven't seen the queen, but there's plenty of eggs in there, so I'm not going to allow them to use those cells, because this queen is a queen from this year, and then we'll pop the feeder on and top that up. So that's all of the frames pushed across to the far side again, and we'll just pop this final frame in, and you can see that on this frame there's not a great deal of stores, so we will feed them up. But I'm happy that we've got this colony united from the two nukes that we had. And as I said, this is a more advanced technique. It's not something that maybe beginners would want to attempt. Just get the feeder on. If you wanted to unite a couple of colonies in a perhaps less stressful way, then adding a sheet of newspaper between the two boxes is possibly the easiest way to unite them. So I'm just going to get the feed, and then we'll pop that into the feeder on the top here, and then we can close them up and feed them up for the winter. And we'll just put the sugar syrup in both sides of the feeder. And this is the last of our 1-to-1 sugar syrup, and from next week we'll be using a heavy sugar syrup, so that's a 2-to-1 mix. And we also have a small amount of thymol in our sugar syrup to prevent the sugar syrup from going mouldy, and that works quite well for us. Okay, so that's our bees. We've got one just struggling in the syrup there, we'll just help her out. Okay, they've now got a good supply of sugar syrup. We can pop the cover board, the queen excluder and the varroa sheet on top, and then we can close those up, and we'll come back and check them next week just to make sure that the feed has been taken down, and we'll continue to feed them now until all of those outside frames have got sufficient stores in to see them through the winter. So I'm pleased with the way that's turned out. We've now got that colony building up nicely for the winter, plenty of brood in there, and we're now feeding them up, and hopefully they'll store plenty of sugar syrup now to see them through the entire winter period. If you'd like the recipe for our essential oil spray, then pop over to our Facebook group and I'll post the recipe along with the video over there. My thanks to Maisemore Apiaries, Jonathan and his team, for supplying all of the equipment that we're using in this series of videos. And don't forget to take a look at our Patreon page, which is patreon.com/Norfolk Honey. And there you can help support us in producing more of these videos. We are a crowd-funded channel and do rely on the support that we get from our subscribers over on Patreon. We're going to crack on and check out some of the other hives now. But until next week, thanks for watching.